Welcome back to Spotlight Pomona. My name is Andrew Quiñones, and we are here at 3P Studios in downtown Pomona.
Beautiful studios. This is a fancy setup, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And today, my special guest is the world famous, at least the Pomona famous, Mitch. Hey, Mitch, what's your last name?
Yeah.
Mitch Stein. Well, so welcome to 3P Studios, Mitch Stein.
Thank you. I've been watching online, and I've been like, I gotta see what this is about.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly glad to have you here because you are a community champion. You're out there in our community on a regular basis, helping in so many different ways. So I just really wanted to bring you into the podcast studio to share a little bit about the things you have going on in your life right now and how it involves the community. In particular, you have a 50th birthday coming up.
Which I don't know if you know, this is a fun fact about Pomona. About 8 years ago, they passed a law that anything in the city that is over 50 years old is considered historic.
Is that right?
You can't tear it down without a permit. So I feel like I'm in good company.
All right. So for those who don't know you, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do in the community of Pomona Valley?
Well, I've lived in Pomona for 25 years. Funny story. So I lived in Cabina from 10 to 25. And I went to school out there. At 25, I decided I wanted to buy a house. The funny part about that is I told my real estate agent I will live anywhere along the 210 corridor between Pasadena and Rancho Cucamonga, except Pomona. It was very clear.
Okay.
I won't live in Pomona.
Not Pomona. What year was this?
This would have been 2000.
Okay, well, Pomona was quite a different place in 2000.
You know, and I bought my first house in Pomona.
What changed your mind?
My house. I found a Craftsman home in the Lincoln Park area. My street was fine and everything was fine. And I was like, I went downtown to have dinner before I bought the house. And I was like, this restaurant's cool. I'm like, I don't know why Pomona gets such a bad rap. So I moved to Pomona, and I don't know that I would ever leave now. It's my home. And that's what's interesting about turning 50 is that I will have spent 25 years, so half my life in Pomona. So it's home now, right? So when people say where you're from, a lot of times people say where they were born, right? But I say I'm from Pomona. Like, this is my home. And because of that, when you talk about community service and stuff like that, if it's your home, you need to take care of your home. And so if this is your home, which Pomona is my home, then I have to be I can either be part of the problem or part of the solution.
Yes.
And so for me, I think the turning point was COVID. Our current mayor, Tim Sandoval. So my youngest daughter's birthday is April 16th. And we closed COVID March 20th. We're shut down. We're closed. I have this 8-year-old at home. And I'm like, how do I make this birthday special? And I went on the Nextdoor app and was like, thinking about doing this drive-by birthday thing I've seen online. If you can come by and make this 8-year-old's birthday special, I'd appreciate it, right? Just a simple message. And I don't even know if I knew who the mayor was at the time. I just wasn't really paying attention to what was going on around me. And I got this DM and he was like, I saw your message. I would like to help. And I was like, okay, thanks. And the day of her party, 125 cars showed up.
Wow. So this is in the peak of COVID. You have an 8-year-old daughter. I'm guessing she went to one of the schools maybe around here?
No, she went to Westmont at the time.
Okay, so Westmont at the time. So by reaching out, you were able to connect with 125 community members that drove by to make it a special day for her?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was huge. The mayor came, a couple of police cars, the police department came.
Yeah.
It was funny, a neighbor that lived around the corner who I didn't know. They just saw this post.
Yeah.
She came, and when she saw the cars, because she had walked, she goes, who are you? And I was like, nobody. At this time, I was nobody. Yeah. And, I just was, a resident. And I was like, man, Pomona shows up, right? These people don't know me.
And that is a good tagline. Pomona shows up.
Pomona shows up.
Because they do.
They do. And I was like, there's something special about this city that if you stop for a second and you listen to it, there's a heartbeat, there's a soul.
Yes.
And the more I got to know people like Tim and Victor, who's on the city council, well, after that, I was walking a lot around town because what did you do during COVID, right? You had to get out of the house. So you just go on a walk. And I ran into Victor, who was canvassing for Chara, running for city council. And I just met him on the street and started talking to him. And I'm like, you're a city council member? You're not what I envision a city council member looks or talks like.
Yes.
Right? Excuse me. And so, and so I was like, well, how can I get more involved? What can I do? Right. And I just started asking myself these questions. And I realized, look, I don't want to get into politics, but it can get ugly. I found myself looking at a computer screen, screaming at a stranger. Either it was a big TV screen or a small cell phone, or I'm fighting with a cousin in Michigan. And I'm like, this isn't healthy for me.
Yes, that's right.
And I can't control these things I'm screaming about. I have an opinion about things that are happening in other parts of the world. I have an opinion about things that are happening in other parts of the nation, but I really can't control that.
Right.
But what I can control is what happens on my street, what happens in my district, what happens in my city. Yes. I can. An individual person like yourself has some control over that.
And Mitch, I came to the same conclusion during COVID just as you. The feeling of not being able to do something about it, right? There's anger, fear, and helplessness. And I've spoken to quite a few people that have also had that same experience. So you went from a state of maybe anger and fear and frustration to say, I can do something at least in my heart, in my home, in my neighborhood, in my community. And so I heard you said you were here since the early 2000s, but it took to the pandemic for you were to really break out of your shell as a community member to start engaging and giving back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird because I see that more now.
Yes.
Right. And one of the things I say to people a lot of times when I meet them, because we're getting into the magazine and why I started that, but I knock on or I see 10,000 doors a month in the city of Pomona now.
Wow.
So I talk to a lot of people about what is wrong, what they're angry about, what they would like to see the city do better. Sometimes I have to tell them, Pomona didn't quit on you. You quit on Pomona.
Yes.
And what I do is I set them up. So I ask them, where's your favorite pizza place? And they're like, oh, this place in Laverne. I'm like, where do you grocery shop? Oh, this place in Claremont. With the exception of a movie theater, everything that you just stated is in the city, but you choose to do that outside.
Right.
So you meet people that say, I love my house and I love my neighborhood, but they don't love the city. Because if they did, they would shop here. If they did, they would put their money here. So I always say, you're not a Pomona resident until you join a service organization.
That's good.
Right. And so for me, it was like.
And before you move on, for those who don't know what a service organization is, can you enlighten us a little bit?
Well, again, this was something that I just sort of stumbled upon when I started to get involved in more politics and more, I don't want to say politics, more community service, right? Is that there's several of them in the city of Pomona, and they've been here for hundreds of years. I mean, the Kiwanis is like 105 years old.
Yeah.
Right. So there's Kiwanis, Lions, Optimist, Rotary, Sur Optimist, Eagles. I mean, the list goes on, and I'm sure the ones I missed are going to get mad at me.
Yeah, those are the top ones. So yes.
And then not only that, but there's like so many nonprofits, so many people, in this building alone. You've got what? Healed Women Healed. I'm sorry, the name of your nonprofit.
SoCal Service Corps.
Right. SoCal Service Corps. You're in a star. You've got the Pride Center down the street. You've got Resilience, the African American Alliance, whatever you're passionate about, there is no reason you have to leave the city to help with those organizations. Compassionate Pomona, I was seeing Jan on here. And the feeling that you get when you're standing, the other day I was in the grocery store, I was at Stater Brothers, and there was 7 lines open, and I looked and I knew somebody in every single one of the lines.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's community.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not just saying it. I'm in it. I'm doing it. I'm meeting people. And it helps us to get to know each other better.
Yes.
Like you and I one time had a discussion at a party where We were on other ends of the spectrum, but we could have a polite conversation.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the problems with politics on a square box, right? Is that you can be rude.
That's right.
And so, you know, it didn't happen all at once for me. Like you said, in COVID 2008, I was like, okay, how do I get involved? I helped a little bit with a few political campaigns, but that didn't fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't about the politics of it. I was like, well, that's not really change. So I joined a couple service organizations. I joined Lions first. I joined Kiwanis. I recently have joined Eagles.
Okay.
Which is
now, before you go on, can you give us just a little tad what those organizations, what their specialties are? Let's just say, for instance,
Lions, for example, was started as a service organization, which was they really didn't have like a heartbeat, I guess, when it was started, which was over 100 years ago.
Also 100 years ago,
yeah.
Yes.
And what happened was, I think it was like their 12th kind of convention. Helen Keller showed up. Okay. She was a guest speaker, and she challenged them to be the Knights of Sight.
The Knights of Sight.
And so that's Lions' primary focus, yes. Making sure that everybody has glasses.
Yeah.
Right?
So you and I were at an event just this past weekend, I think it was. Mm-hmm. I was there just to show up, but you were there to volunteer with the club.
Correct.
So give us a little snapshot of what you experienced this past weekend.
That club that specific event,
yes.
is one of the ones that is like the most fulfilling, because a lot of times you're doing something where you're like raising money, but you don't see the result. When somebody walks into a building and they're like, I need glasses, and then they walk out with glasses.
Yeah.
That changes somebody's life.
Absolutely.
So one afternoon of me having a sore back the next day from moving all the boxes and stuff, we served over 350 people walked out of that building with a pair of glasses. And what Lions does is it's 100% volunteers. So we go around, we collect old glasses, we clean them, we figure out what the prescription is, and then we do free eye exams, and we give you glasses that have your prescription. And if we don't have them, then we will make you a pair. The city of Pomona, where we're super lucky, is that the local Lions organization actually bought a clinic for the school district.
Wow.
So the clinic's currently at Marshall, but it's moving because Marshall's closing, unfortunately. Marshall Junior High is closing.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Marshall.
So
I from what I understood, I know Palomar's is closing, and they were going to move the program to Marshall's. So now this is new news for me that Marshall's is closing.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, many schools are closing because of the population growth has.
But this is something, people get all upset. This is something that's happening all over this part of Southern California, right?
Oh,
is that the people aren't having as many kids,
right.
Open enrollment,
right.
Declining populations are happening everywhere. So we're having to close schools. I think our school district does a fairly good job when they close the schools of what they're going to do with that property.
Yes, I was on a commission called the 7-Eleven Commission that actually did the community-backed research part of it. So I got to see a number of properties that they are going to close. So,
well, and what's smart
turn
about
it to housing,
right? And what's smart about it is that the way we pay for schools is property taxes.
Yes.
Right. So if we close a school and build homes, then we get more property taxes, and it keeps the existing schools in better shape.
Now, I don't want to go too off, but
Mm-hmm.
but I know this is your field. You're a real estate agent for the money making aspect of things. Now, if they build homes, there's property taxes there. But if they build apartments, like high density apartments, do people?
Yeah, there's still property taxes.
There's still properties.
Right. It's not as high because it's based on.
Does the person that owned the property pay the property taxes, or the person that rents the condo or apartment?
No, the person that owns it, which would be built into the rent.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So housing of any sort is property taxes, and that's what pays for schools.
Got it.
Sales tax is what pays for infrastructure.
Interesting.
So
you learned something.
If you go to Stater Brothers, you're fixing a pothole.
Yes.
If you buy a house, you're funding a school.
Wonderful.
There's a lot more complicated.
Sure.
But the easy math is if you buy gas in Pomona, you're fixing the roads. If you buy a house or rent in Pomona, you are. And that's one of the things we we struggle within the city. For example, Lopez Elementary School. What a great thing they did there. The school property was underutilized, so they partnered with Lopez Urban Farm, and we have this amazing farm.
And for those who have not seen, for your own eyes, Lopez Urban Farm, it's on Mission Avenue between the 71 freeway and let's say Dudley or
I mean, it's right
Hamilton.
It's only like a block away.
Yeah, right on a block from me right now. But it's a beautiful urban farm that has livestock now. So they got goats, they got bodegas. You could go in and walk out with free stuff or give a donation,
They
clothes.
have free clothes, they have free diapers, they have free canned goods.
Classes to knit.
Produce. You can pet a goat.
Kids love to play there.
You can skateboard.
Right.
I took a poetry class there and wrote a poem.
Oh, wow. All right.
I was like, how beatnik of me.
Another great organization. Now, let's get back to, okay, you were telling the audience about the different service clubs you belong to and their special niches. So we talked about the Eagles, and the Eagles are for sight. Excuse me. Lions Club is for sight.
Right.
So if you're interested in, if something moves you to participate in a volunteer, what has to do with sight and helping people to see better, a perfect organization would be Lions Club.
That's a perfect one. And especially if you have some sort of, if you're an eye doctor, if you make glasses, something like that, of course, right? Yes. Or if you yourself, it's a great organization. The other thing that they do is what we call Fill the Gap. They raise money, and then at the beginning of the school year, the teachers can fill out a mini grant application for something. The most powerful way to describe that was last year, a woman taught fourth grade at, I believe, Washington. She said, the school district does an amazing job of making sure my classroom is stocked with books for fourth graders. But because of COVID, there's a lot of kids who are in fourth grade, but they're reading at a second grade level because they just sort of stopped their education during COVID.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Right? So she's like, to catch them up to their fourth grade level, I need second and third grade books. So we gave her $500 and said, go buy second and third grade books. Whether or not the school district would have had that money or not, we don't know, but she shouldn't have to ask. We should just be able to just do that. And so that's the other thing Lions does. So I'm really proud of that organization. And then Kiwanis, what's really good about Kiwanis is that our ex-city manager, Linda Lowry, kind of challenged the people who work for the city to join a service organization.
Yes, I love it.
And a lot of them had chose Kiwanis.
Yeah.
So if you want to make sure your trash can gets picked up, join Kiwanis. No, what happens there is that they are able to do a lot of service projects that involve the city. And then their money is mostly that they raise is for scholarship programs and they also support key clubs at the high school. What a key club is, if a kid wants to go to college or they need something for their application, they have to do so much service work.
Yes.
And so that's what a key club is
so the key clubs are tied to Kiwanis.
Right. So Kiwanis financially supports the key clubs at the high school.
Got it.
We have one at Pomona High and one at Diamond Ranch, and we're opening one in Ganesha. Again, every high school used to have one. COVID killed them. We got to bring them back.
Yes.
And then, do you want me to go through all of them or just the ones
the ones that you're a part of? And then I might mention mine.
And then I just joined Eagles.
Yes. And
Eagles has this amazing little lodge right next to the urban farm, basically. Right. If you're a member, you get really good drinks there. And what they do is they raise money.
The only service club with a bar.
It's the only service club with the bar. So if that speaks your language, join Eagles. They do Taco Tuesdays. It's open to the public. And so they raise money doing that. And then every other week they do steak night on Fridays.
Yeah, they do a couple of those.
And that's such a good deal.
Yeah.
That's how I met them. It was like $15 for a big steak and a big potato. Right. I was like, what? I'm a little softy. When I went there, you're sitting there and you're eating a steak that somebody in the community made, and it's all volunteers, and there's live music.
Yeah.
Just makes you feel like that. You watch these movies about these towns where everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's, and you're like, wait, this is it. I don't have to watch a movie or move to some square state in the middle of the world. It's here. I'm excited about that organization because I know I can help. I'm also on the board at the Pomona Valley Pride Center. That's not really a service organization, as more as it is a community center.
Yeah.
So if people want to volunteer, and they do a lot of good work of mostly what I always tell people is it's a safe place. If you're in that community or an ally in that community and you're feeling lost in today's world, it's a place you can go and you can kind of feel safe.
Awesome.
Right. So there's just so many opportunities out there. And that's why I started the magazine.
Yes. So now, before we get to this magazine, because Justin and I, both are partners. Well, my partner is
It's a
Kiwanian with you, and your partner is a Rotarian with me.
So my family has started to join service groups too.
Yes, yes. Your daughter as well is an Optimist Club.
My daughter's an Optimist, but they all wanted to join my group, and I was like, no, I see you all the time. You got to find your own group. So yeah, my daughter's an Optimist, and my partner is a Rotarian.
When I was younger, being mentored in the community, my mentor would take me out to these community functions, and he wouldn't let me sit with him. He would say, we have dinner all the time. We have food, go sit somewhere else.
Right.
But it helped me to break out of my shell and start learning other parts of the community and people and getting to know people. So I'm so glad you did that with your family.
Well, you guys are
lucky. You're covering bases.
Because Justin is a Rotarian. You went to camp with him.
That's right.
He is the epitome of service. Yes. That's the person that you want.
He's got a good spirit. Absolutely. Rotary Club. That's the we. I don't know how to say it now, but that used to be like a good old boys club. The executive directors of big organizations would participate. Of course, things have changed, and so it's a very welcoming club. I mean, you got males and females, older, younger, someone from every different kind of background. We raise money to do things and help with Student of the Month in the Rotary Club, and then we have like two. Like a teen. One is the junior high, and then one's the high school, like camps for leadership. So we focus on youth.
Camps for leadership are cool. And then you guys do the music scholarships, which is really cool to see.
And some type of written essay as well. They do some good things there. And then the Optimist Club, which I'm with your daughter in, we focus on Student of the Month for elementary students. Something called Tea for the Soul for young women in high school, and men with suits or something of that nature, where we'll buy so many suits for the young men that are either graduating or going to prom. And so all these organizations.
Is it Rotary or Optimist that takes the kids to buy them clothes, school clothes?
That'd be Optimist Club.
That's Optimist as well. Right?
Optimist also during the Christmas holiday, we will take kids to Target.
So I was a poor kid. My mom had me at 15, so we didn't have a lot of money. As a child, someone took me. Do you remember Mervin's?
Yeah, Mervin's.
Someone took me and my sister to Mervin's one day. It was before they opened. We had a $200, which back in the 80s, that would have been a lot of money. We had a $200 budget and we could buy, but our parents weren't allowed to go. So we could buy whatever kind of clothes we wanted at the Mervin's. And I always just assumed it was some church or something that had done this. And it wasn't until I joined service organizations, I was like, oh my God, it was a Rotarian that did it. I also, as a kid, it was an older man, like in a suit, walking us around. And I realized this was someone that probably owned a business in the area. So these things have been around for a very long time. I just think they got a little passe for some reason. A lot of reasons people were joining service organizations back in the day was because they own a business.
Right.
And there's so few business owners now. We all work for somebody else, right? We don't have a town optometrist. We go to Costco. We don't have a town dentist. We go to, besides real estate agents, there's just not a lot of self-employed people anymore.
And so community, this is why we're working together to really help our local service clubs, not even in our city, but any city you live in. If you're living, almost anywhere in the world now. I mean, I know Rotary all around the world, but
one of those organizations is in every city.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though, again, we still don't have the same mom and pop kind of family businesses where they would join clubs to get to know each other and to advertise and to network. There still is a need for service in many people's hearts, and there still is a need to connect with community members. So these service clubs provide something really wonderful.
I guarantee you, this is the thing that I learned. I took a class in real estate, a mindset class, and they said that they studied
happiness.
They were like, what is the secret to happiness? And they said, once you have food in your stomach and a roof over your head, money does not make you happy. What makes you happy is gratitude.
Gratitude, yes. I agree.
And when you think about that and you start to process that, if you want to live a happy life, success included, right? I'm not discrediting people that money's important to them. I'm not discrediting that. But if you want to be happy while you're doing it, you have to be grateful for the things that you have. And gratitude sometimes is hard if you're not doing service.
Yes. And also, gratitude is hard if you're complaining in your mind. And again, a lot of people, I'm included, I have to stop myself from complaining and remind myself to be grateful.
And that's why that's one of the things is as I'm going through these groups and I'm listening to people talk, I'm like, okay, if this is a problem, what can I do to fix this problem, right? For example, the service organizations are like, well, how do we get our word out there? How do people know that we exist so people will come and they will join and they will experience what we're experiencing? So I was like, well, I'm going to start a Facebook page, right? So I started the Pomona Bulletin Facebook page. We have 12,000 people in there now.
12,000 people. Wonderful.
And we promote Pomona in a positive way. And one of the things that they teach you at Eagles is something that you were told as a child, but they reiterate it to you as an adult. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. So that's kind of our rule at the Pomona Bulletin.
That's good.
So we know that there's things in the city that we need to fix.
Yes.
Obviously, we're a big city. I think people forget that about Pomona. We're 160,000 people.
Yeah, we got 3 or 4 freeways.
It now takes 30 minutes to drive from one side of Pomona to the other, right? So for you to say there's crime and there's this or there's that, well, yeah, we're a big city. You know, our neighboring cities are like, I think Claremont's only like 23,000 people.
Wow.
Right? So we're 160,000. Claremont is like one district in Pomona. Yeah. So for them to be like, oh, you know, it's like, well, that's a town. It's not a city. We're a city. If you took Pomona and put it in one of these middle America states, we would be a major city. We're bigger than some states' capitals, right? So when you think about that and you put it in that perspective, you're like, well, you know, the problems that the city have. But again, what are you doing?
Yes. And
even the smallest thing, if you don't like that someone speeds down the street, then you yourself shouldn't speed down the street.
I think about that every day I go home. Yes. When I'm in my yard, I say, man, God darn these guys. You're going fast. You know, my street's 25 miles per hour, but I'll easily see somebody go 40. I often notice myself when I'm going over 35. I say, I better put my money on
set the example, right? How do you fix it? So a couple of things for myself was that I'm like, we need to support the small businesses in Pomona.
Yes.
Because that is if we support the businesses in Pomona, more people will build businesses in Pomona. I think the complaint that we have a lot of times here in Pomona is that like, well, there's not a good this in the city.
Yeah.
Right. Just fill in the blank.
Yes.
Well, we have 2 vegan restaurants, for example, in the city of Pomona now, and they're amazing. But who knows about them? I've gone there before and I'm like, there's no line. There should be a line here. If I go to a vegan restaurant in Claremont, there's a line.
Yeah.
But they only have 1.
Yeah.
We have 2 and that still there's no line. We have to support our businesses. And then if something's broken, we have to ask ourselves, how can we fix it?
Yes. And I've been a part of plenty of those conversations throughout the past number of years when we ask that exact question, you know, why? What is the issue with business here in Pomona? And we're hoping, okay, that some of our city officials may be watching or people that work for the city, that customer service is very important. I know some of the winning attitudes of corporations, they don't have it anymore, but I think of Bed Bath Beyond or Walmart, when you had a greeter and you felt welcomed. If you look lost in the store, somebody would come and say, hey, how can I help you? And they'll take you directly to the item that you're looking for. It's something that I hope that our city employees are working diligently on to improve the customer services so that when we have people that want to start a business over here in Pomona, it's easier to navigate than, let's say, it has been in the past.
Well, you have to have your voice heard.
Yes.
Right? So you jumping on Facebook, complaining, people in the city may or may not see that. But like we have an app. A lot of people don't know this. Pomona has an app.
Oh, yes, that's right. Pomona Go.
Pomona Go.
That's Pomona
right?
Go.
You can open that app. The thing I love, the thing that I cannot rave enough about is you can say that you see graffiti, right?
Yes.
You can open the app. The app is GPS. So you don't even have to know where you are because it knows where you are,
Okay.
right? You enable the GPS. So you're sitting there, you see a wall, there's graffiti, you're standing in front of it, you go on the Go app, you report it.
Right.
I have reported graffiti before, and in less than 30 minutes, it's been taken care of.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. I know they got like a 48-hour time frame where they try to take care of it.
It happens
That's
so
quick.
fast
Yes.
that I always think they're lying. So I go back to check because I'm like, I can't get a pizza this fast.
Yeah.
And, so like knowing what those things are. The other thing is, and I tell this to my children, the same thing, like, don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I don't like this. And my suggestion, however, I think that if we did it this way, it would be right. Help be part of the conversation. Just complain. So 2 things that I've created for the city, because I'm like, okay, so how do we support businesses? We have to start going there. We have to just go, right? We have to find those things. And it's actually kind of been fun for me. So what I did was I started an app. It's called Corporate Club. It's a Pomona Club. What happens is all the local businesses can, and if you go to the Pomona Bulletin website, you can download this app, and all of the local businesses can advertise their business on this card for free. So I don't charge anyone to use the app. Yeah. It's free. Financially, I am fortunate enough that I can support something like this. It's not a big endowment, but I can do. And so what happens is the local business puts it on there. You open your app, you look, see something in Pomona that you like, you go visit that store. We do charge the corporations to be there.
Great.
Right? But they're on there too.
Yeah.
So we do have a El Pollo Loco in the city of Pomona, yes. Right? It's on that card. But we also have a Macho Pollo, which I think is way better in Pomona, and they're on that card. So it evens the playing field between the corporate things that are in Pomona and the mom and pop things that are in Pomona, yes. Right? So for me, it's like, okay, if I can help small businesses and I can promote them in my own way, then I'm part of the good.
So tell the audience out there, if you're a small business, how can you get on this app right here?
Just go to our website, thepomonabulletin.com, and there's literally you click a link, you fill out a jot form, and then you're on there.
Awesome.
And then what we do now is any business that's on the card, we advertise them for free.
So share again, are you on 2 or 3? How many issues have you had of this?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This is called the Pomona Bulletin. Mm-hmm. It's a nice little magazine, all colored pages. They've got some good stories that I've read. I see our little support Pomona by shopping here, and there's a big QR code.
I wonder if you hold that up to the camera, they can just scan the screen.
I'll make sure we'll take a picture and I'll put it on.
And so basically, it's just something I can do. What we do, and so first of all, I support small businesses. What I do in this magazine, and so what I've done is I've then like, okay, we had the Facebook page, we had the website, we had the app, but also, like, how do I get my message to people who aren't? Those are for people that are looking for it. How, people that are looking, social media websites.
Yes.
So we started printing the magazine. We make about 10,000. Well, we make 15,000 copies. 5,000 copies are put in local businesses, and 10,000 copies are put on people's door.
Oh, wow.
So we physically go out every day, yes. And we put the magazines on people's door so that people know what's going on in the city.
So now I have a question. I run a volunteer organization. So how do you get these people to, how do you put these on the doors? I mean, you're working with volunteers? Or
all volunteers.
Volunteers.
It's mostly my family.
Yes. Okay.
It's like before you get dinner, you have to go put out 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was to, do you ever need help where you would like volunteers to maybe help with a route or something where we could put something on the screen to contact you?
I'm always open to whatever. And this is something that we just started on our own. We're still figuring this out. We've had some complaints that they're like, well, I got the magazine after the event happened. Yeah. And I'm like, well, there's a website you can follow. There's social media, so it's not a business. Like, we don't charge anyone to be in the magazine. It's just our way of being like, look, these are the positive things that are going on in the city.
Great.
We will go eat at a restaurant. To be honest, if we eat at a restaurant and we are not impressed, we just don't put them in the magazine.
Yeah, because if you don't have anything nice to say.
If you have nothing nice to say, just keep your mouth shut. It was fun to do. It was fun to do this one because we have 2 teriyaki bowl places in Pomona. One is Ginza with a G, and one is Ginza, which is, I guess, would be a J, and then Ginza with the J. So G and J. So it's Ginza and Ginza.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Ginza
who won?
Well, we never win. We just let you decide.
I was at one of those restaurants yesterday. On Holt.
I was just at Ginza yesterday. Yeah, and the thing is like, the one thing I've noticed about Pomona, when we usually get suggestions from the Facebook page first,
okay,
right? So we'll be like, what's your favorite restaurant, or what's your favorite this, or what's your favorite that? We ask questions on the Facebook page. Pomona is serious about their food. Pomonians are serious about their food. And the thing that I appreciate about Pomonians is that a word? I just made something up. I love it. The thing that I appreciate about them, though, is that they will be brutally honest about food.
Yes.
But they do not care if it's a shack on the side of the road. If it's good food, it's good food. And, and I think that's what, to be honest, if I was to guess what's going to put Pomona like kind of back on the map again, I think it's going to be our food scene, to be honest. We have, a lot of people don't know this, but we have a Michelin guide restaurant in Pomona on Holt, the ceviche place.
Yeah.
It's Michelin guide.
Que loco, huh?
And it is on Holt. It's a little dirty sidewalk, but I think it gives the ceviche a little taste.
That's right.
And then, like I talked about our vegan restaurants and, obviously the different Mexican restaurants that we have, we're starting to see some fusion stuff. To be honest, that's where our primary focus has been on a lot of the restaurants in the area, because if I had a crystal ball, I would say that's what's going to start driving more people to the city is that our food scene.
Cool, man.
So, and so our thing is trying to show Pomona in a positive light, helping these service organizations in the way we can by promoting their events, letting people things are knowing. When you talk about how long I lived in the city, I had no idea until last year that the city of Pomona will send your kid to summer camp for free.
Yeah.
I had no idea. 25 years.
Well, share a little bit of what you know about that program.
So essentially, you do have to leave a $50 deposit, which gets refunded, right? I don't know which ones they have this year, but last year they could go to either a horse camp, an adventure camp, or there was a third option. It's overnight camp for a week. My youngest daughter went and stayed at a camp down in San Diego. They charter a bus, so you don't even have to get your kid there. You just show up to a park here, Palomares Park, and get on a bus, go to camp. And then when they're done with camp, the parents can take the bus down there to see their graduation ceremony and then take the bus back with their child. Yeah. So because my daughter chose horse camp, there was a requirement for a type of boot. And they gave her a voucher to buy the boot.
Wow.
I was like, this is amazing. How do I not know this? And why am I not taking advantage of this?
Yeah, it's something that I'm just learning right now. My boys will be going to the Youth and Family Club for their summer program and swimming and all those kind of things. And that's also free for Pomona Unified School District students.
One is you just have to live in the city. A lot of programs, you have to go to the school. There's a lot more programs if you go to a Pomona Unified school. One of the things that I'm the most sad about is because I do go to so many doors, I see people's front yards. I'm putting a magazine on their door. You always see my kid graduated from, or my kid's student of the month from.
Yes.
It's in my district. It's never a Pomona school district.
Oh, because you live in the nice
I live
little park,
in
Lincoln Park, where
District 6. I live in Elizabeth Cole's district,
right?
But that goes all the way to Mills.
Yes,
right. So it's a big district.
Interesting.
I have never seen my kid was student of the month at Emerson, or my kid graduated from Emerson, or the high school's Pomona High for that district, right? I never see that. But what I see is my kid's graduating from Claremont, my kid's graduating from here, my kid's graduating from there, and so that sort of makes me sad. To see. So we got to work on. That's one of the things. That's I gave you all the sugar, so now I'm gonna give you a little salt. Okay. That's one of the things we got to work on. And I think one of the reasons that happens is not that the school district isn't as good as those other ones. That's not the reason. Is because we don't have a robust sports program anymore. So City of Claremont doesn't have ASO. Why does, Pomona doesn't have ASO.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
Well, what?
Yeah.
We're 160,000 students. 70% of our population is Hispanic.
Love soccer.
Right? Like, I have to take my kid to Claremont to play ASO.
They have goals here in Pomona on the south side. I'm not really too sure how that works.
I'm not sure, but I'm just like.
But yeah, there should be
so
an ASO.
There should be an ASO,
right.
Especially because there's there are club teams in Pomona, but we have to have the starter club, which is ASO, right? We do have 2 little leagues, which are amazing. Right.
One is Ted Green, which my little boys have been
Ted Green, and then Sonia runs that. She's a Kiwanian.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
They're an amazing all-volunteer organization. And we have American, which also has softball. So I think we have that covered. There's an organization called Pomona Native that's trying to bring in football.
Okay.
Well, they do have football. They have football and cheer,
yeah.
But they're struggling finding a place to call home.
Right.
So we need to find them a park.
Yeah.
These are the type of things that these type of conversations I would rather be having with people than like, the trash man didn't pick up my trash. That's a first world problem, right? Someone's, like, yes. And these other things we can fix. And I will tell you, there's some stuff going on in the city that I really, really like, like the new parks.
Yes.
Like all the new parks, amazing.
I am excited about some of the new ones, but I did this program for about 2 years working with these youngsters, looking at green spaces. I feel a little conflicted in the sense where we are building some new parks, but our old parks are in dire need of restroom facility fix-ups. So as I was saying, the parks are a little bit bittersweet. We have a few new parks, such as the dog park in Phillips Ranch and Hamilton Park. They're building one right now in the Civic Center. But again, my boys go to Ted Green Park, and they just actually rebuilt the playground structure. So real nice. But as a parent, I go to 2 parks in particular, Ted Green and Ganesha Park. When my little boys tell me it's time to go home because they don't want to go to the restroom, whether it be no stalls or there's homeless people hanging out, or it just looks really ugly in there. It's disheartening.
Yes, and I coach ASO in Claremont, and I used to coach Little League in Claremont. In both of those parks, I would not use the public restrooms.
Really?
So it's indicative of LA County parks.
Well, I took the group of young people to at least 10 parks here in Pomona, and then I took them to parks in Walnut, Diamond Bar, Montclair, and Claremont. And so we were able to see the difference. I'm kind of surprised, you think Claremont, they're going to really take
the bathrooms, not the parks, but the bathrooms. We were talking about bathrooms. Yeah. And so, you know what cures those problems?
Yes, what?
Is a lot of people, right? Crime doesn't want to be where there's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
if more people visit the parks
right.
and participate in them, then the riffraff will find somewhere else to riffraff.
Very, very true.
But when we abandon our parks, we leave it to riffraff.
Yes, that's right.
Period. And so we need to have more events. Yeah. We need to have, we build these. Hamilton Park is freaking beautiful.
It is. It's always occupied.
Beautiful. And so we invested a little bit of paint and what the city did at Palomares was really smart. We had these underutilized tennis courts. Who plays tennis anymore? And they turned them all into pickleball courts, and now those courts are busy, right? And it's free, right? The history in Pomona, like the Palomares Adobe is free tours. You can go to the original kindergarten. You hear these interesting stories, and so like these were all things that I didn't know or get involved into until the last couple of years. And just spending some time in the city, deciding that I want to be a part of the city. So,
what's underutilized? So I think it'd be really nice. And you're going to be president of the Kiwanis Club next year? Is that correct?
I am. I'm president-elect. So my term starts October 1st.
So maybe I'll plant a little seed. I think it'd be kind of fun if all the clubs did a lawn bowling activity, maybe some type of barbecue and competition, you know what I mean? Where we got all the service clubs together to do a family picnic or something of that nature. We have a lawn bowling right next to Palomares. I think it's free to utilize. It's a beautiful area. Not a lot of people go, but that might be a little fun to engage in.
That's what's great. Again, pitching service organizations to people. That's what's great is that when you're in a service organization, if you have an idea, you bring it forward to the group. The group decides whether or not they're going to participate in it. Typically they do, because if you have an idea, like they don't want to shoot it down, and it happens.
Yes.
Right. And it either works or it doesn't. It's just a bunch of volunteers, a bunch of people getting together, and it's great. I think the thing that I am going to be planning next, as far as something fun, is I want to do touch a truck event.
Touch a truck event?
Touch a truck, because every male loves trucks from like 6 months old to 96 years old.
I got a truck.
Yeah. And so what I want to do is I want to get like a fire truck, a trash truck, a bulldozer,
right.
like a bunch of trucks,
Yeah.
have the city participate, have Athens come participate. And just take a field and fill it full of trucks and just let people come touch a truck, right?
That's fun.
That would be fun, right?
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't need to cost anything.
No.
So those are the type of things that we're working on. I am turning 50.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I definitely wanted, before I go away, I want to talk about is that when you talk about Kiwanis, it's interesting how these things were really impactful in the city. And when you talk about people, when you say their heyday, when they talk about Pomona's heyday, usually they're talking about the 50s. We'd come up with, the reason that would happen was, instead of us trying to stop things from happening, we would come up with creative ways to integrate them into society.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to use an example of drag racing. Drag racing was very popular in the 50s. Your grandparents drag raced. They had their car and they would race down Holt.
Uh-huh.
The sheriff at the time said, instead of trying to lock these kids up, let's give them a space to do this. That's what the drag strip was originally built for.
At the Fairplex.
That is what started the National Hot Rod Association.
Yes.
Right? So this amazing idea came out of the city of Pomona, but now we've locked up that facility and no amateurs are allowed to.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So now we're back on the street.
Right. Yeah.
And now we've criminalized it.
Yeah.
Instead of coming up with a unique way to be like, how can we make this? It's similar to my generation, what they did with skateboarding.
Yes, that's right.
They tried to make skateboarding a crime
Right.
instead of building a park where they could skateboard.
Right.
So those are the type of conversations that I'm willing to have.
Yes.
Is how can we innovate and think outside the box? It doesn't have to be yes and no, or black or white, right? And there's space for every single thing that we want to do. There's a space for that.
Yes.
And so one of the things that happened to me recently was I was talking to someone about being in Kiwanis, and a young man told me, there was another person at the dinner table. He actually got teary-eyed when I was talking about Kiwanis. And I was like, well, I wouldn't expect that from this person.
Yes.
And he got it from the table and he walked in the other room, and I asked his partner, I said, have I offended him somehow? And he goes, no, I don't know what he's doing, but no, I don't think you've offended him. And he came back and he had his high school graduation. He had his high school graduation thing. And the story's in this month's Pomona Bulletin.
Uh-huh.
He had been one of the people that got the scholarship from Kiwanis.
Oh, okay.
And he had his high school, what he went and found was his high school like program. And he showed me that he had won the Kiwanis scholarship. And he told me the story about how he grew up very poor here in Pomona. And we hear these stories a lot about kids that have never left the city.
Yeah.
Right? They've never seen outside of Pomona. Or he said at the time when he was in high school, he went to Pomona High School, he had never gone to a restaurant where there was a waiter. Right?
Wow.
He was a senior in high school and never gone to a restaurant where there was a waiter. So when he won this scholarship, the biggest thing in his life and the biggest thing he could dream of wasn't the scholarship. It was that the dinner was happening at the Pomona Valley Mining Company. And if he won, he could take his mother and father to dinner at the Pomona Valley Mining Company.
Wow.
That's why he applied.
Yes.
It wasn't
interesting
to go to college because money wasn't going to happen. College was not on the
radar
because there was no money. right? But he was like, well, if I apply for this and the ceremony's there, maybe at least I'll get dinner.
That's interesting. Yes.
Right. And then he won. So now he's got this $3,500 and he's like, well, I should go to college.
Yeah.
So he went to Mount SAC and now he got a degree in some sort of programming thing and he's a web programmer or something,
Wow.
you know, and
Yeah.
he makes quite a bit of money and he's successful. And so, you know, I've challenged him to give back now. But what it's done is that when I heard this story, I was like, well, I'm in Kiwanis and we don't do this anymore. Why do we not do this anymore?
Yeah.
And so I went to each of these groups has some old time who like back in the day, he's the keeper of the secrets. And I went to the person on it and I was like, what happened? He goes, we just ran out of money.
Yeah.
We just ran out of money. So this is what I'm doing. On June 21st, I am very fortunate. Have you been to the old Y? It's now called the
Union.
Amazing.
Beautiful
if you
place,
have not been there, and it's a workspace and it's so beautiful. They did such a good job there. And those people are so amazing that basically we've worked out a deal where we're going to have that space to have a party. So I'm going to have my 50th party, 50-year-old party at the Union. It was important to me that the party was in Pomona. So I was lucky enough to work out something with that space. We're going to have an 80s cover band named Flash Pants. Look them up. They're pretty amazing. They won the Gong Show.
The Gong Show. I remember
Well, there was like a remake of the Gong Show and they won it. And we are going to donate. I'm paying for the party because you pay for your own party, right? But what I'm asking instead of gifts is that you pay for a $50 ticket. I'm turning 50. I'm asking you to pay for a $50 ticket. Our goal is to raise $50,000 that night. And then we're going to take that money and we're going to put it in a trust so that the interest of that money will pay for a scholarship every year.
Wonderful.
Or hopefully multiple. So we have $50,000. We believe we can give $2,000, $2,500 a year and we'll always be there. Because if we're just spending the interest on it instead of having to keep raising the money. And so that's what we're trying to do. And we're looking for the city, just like the city showed up for my kid's birthday. I'm hoping that they show up for mine. So sorry I'm crying again, but it's been a long day. And so go to the PomonaBulletin.com. You can buy a ticket there. Also, if you see the magazine, it's the QR code. We're halfway there. The party's not till June 21st. And we've raised half the money so far. So I'm really excited about that. Half the money.
I still got to buy my wife and my ticket. So you can count on us.
If you're not going, please just buy a ticket. You know, it's $50. I know that's a lot of money to some people, but it's also like if we can pull this together in 1 year, this is something that will be there for a lifetime, right? And if we can inspire, then the next, and you know, here's the thing about service groups and inspiration is that Kiwanis inspired him to go to college. And then he inspired me to bring the program back.
Wow. Yeah. Full circle.
Just for, you know, so you never know who's watching and who you're inspiring. And, you know, when you start to do that stuff, you find true happiness.
Yes.
You really do. And it's not just changed my life. Like you said, it's changed everyone in my family's life. And it's gotten to the point now, I own a couple restaurants and I have a real estate company, like you said, where now it's like every single one of my managers belong to a service organization. And it's just changed the way we think at work, the way we treat people. It's because it's not always about money. Right? It's about feeling safe where you live and where you work. And if you want to see change in your city, it starts with you.
Yes.
It starts with you. So
not one person can do everything, but every person can do something.
One person can make, it's a ripple effect, right?
Yeah, ripple effect.
You know, me deciding to join Lions, I joined Lion and Kiwanis around the same time. Me deciding to join that resulted in 10 immediate family members and coworkers to join service organization, right? And then from that, Kiwanis, for example, grew by another 10 because I was there.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And so you can make a big difference. You just have to start.
Show up.
Just show up. and follow your heart.
Yeah.
And if you do that, Pomona will give it back to you.
Absolutely.
It absolutely will. My love for this city has grown so much since COVID. And, I want to make sure that that's what makes Pomona special. And I think the thing that makes Pomona special is that, like I said, well, Pomona shows up, and it's mostly because we center around our family.
Yeah.
Right. When you talk about touchy subjects like ICE or DEI or stuff like that, the reason Pomona always leans into what I believe is the right side of history is because we look at it as a family. You don't turn your back on family, no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? If your loved one has a problem with alcohol, you don't turn your back on them. You get them help. Right? If someone's doing something that you just don't do that. You don't turn your back on family, and you don't tear families apart.
And that's tough because, when we look out in the streets, at least my experience with a portion of the homeless population, you got to think everyone came from a family. But I mean, there's a crisis out there because sometimes people burn bridges.
Well, yeah. And, you don't know that person's story necessarily,
right.
But here's the thing. Open my eyes, because I live not far off of Holt.
Yeah.
Right. And I get upset. We'll talk a little politics just for a second here. I get upset when people judge the city of Pomona based on 4 blocks of Holt.
Yeah, right.
Which is, the majority of the complaints are Holt between town and Mills.
Yeah.
Right? That's the majority of when people think of Pomona and they think of the negative parts of Pomona. That's what they're thinking. Those 4 or 5 blocks. So I was like, okay, I have a problem with this.
Yeah.
I do. My favorite chicken place, Macho Pollo, is in the middle of that. I have to drive through that to get there. But instead of screaming at a TV screen, I said to myself, okay, what am I mad at? And then what can I learn about why this is happening? So there was a human trafficking event in Pomona, so I attended it.
Yes.
I was like, okay. And I met Tracy with Healed Women Healed, and I met some people at Project Resilience, and One More Time, I think is the name of it. One More Life, I think it's the other organization. And they said something to me that you just came to my mind. And they said, no little girl at 7 years old said, when I grow up, I'm going to walk the strand.
Yeah.
What they call it, the blade? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
That wasn't their dream.
No.
Right? So we have to deal with these situations with a little bit of compassion. And I'm proud of the city. The city, for the most part, goes after the Johns and not the girls. But because we're not supporting our small businesses down there, we don't want to see that place is dark.
Yeah.
And it's not well, and so where there is, like I said, like for parks, where there is a void, riffraff will find their way to that space.
Yeah.
And so what we've got to do is we've got to start supporting those businesses, but also putting our resources there on Holt so the girls see something that they can go to.
Yeah.
I think that my bigger vision for the city we have a lot of community services in the city, but they're not on that street.
Right.
My challenge to community organizers, my city council member who handles that area, is to find a location where we can put a resource center right there in the middle,
in the heart of it.
Yeah. And get these girls some help.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like I said, with no Johns, there are no girls. So how do we combat that?
I've always thought of putting up a mural, an impactful mural that kind of shares a story through art. Perhaps on a daily basis, they would see not only Johns, but also the women walking the street, and it would move them somewhere.
They don't advertise it very well, but I'm going to put them on blast right now because I think this is great, and they don't advertise it very well. So the Pomona Police Department recently, what they've been doing is they've been photographing the license plates of the Johns.
Oh, okay.
And sending letters to the home of the saying, here's a picture of you talking to this girl. We know what you were doing.
Yeah.
You need to stop doing it. what's great about that is a lot of times these guys, their cars are registered in their wife's names.
Ooh,
right. Or they're borrowing a friend's car. Yeah. So not only are they getting the letter, but it's actually going to the registered owner of the car.
Yeah.
And so I would like a billboard, or I would like some sort of saying, if you come down here, we're going to tell your wife.
Right. Yeah. We're going to put you on blast.
We're going to put you on blast. But again, I think the answer is there was a robust look. However you lean on the city of Pomona, thank God, voted overwhelmingly to allow the dispensaries.
Yes.
Okay. But when you look at Catalyst, which is on hold, there's no crime in front of Catalyst. That's a busy business. Right. And that business owner has a vested interest in keeping.
Vested interest. Lights, cameras, action. I mean, they have really put in a good plan to keep that little area safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Athens has put their office there. They own the pawn. Catalyst owns the pawn shop. There's a gym that's 24 hours. Yeah. A gym that's 24 hours in Pomona.
Lion's Den
is right there. Now there's a coffee shop. There's eye candy right there. Like that whole section there is changed. Yes. That was a Salvation Army.
Right.
And a liquor store that sells air to kids.
Yeah.
You know, and it's totally changed. Because there's businesses, whether it's marijuana or whatever, there's businesses that are thriving.
Yes.
So how do we support more businesses on that part of Holt that are surviving, that are thriving, right? That's, like I said, that's why I mentioned Macho Pollo so many times. And I've mentioned that, right, is that we have got to invest in our business community, because if we do, it will trickle out more local jobs, more traffic, and we have got to build things in the city where we can bring money from outside of the city.
Yes.
We need people to, instead of saying, well, you know what's really great, we should go to dinner, we should go to the Village in Claremont. Mm-hmm. The answer shouldn't be that. We should strive for the answer to be, you know, where it's really fun is the brewery in Pomona.
Yeah.
The coffee shops in Pomona, which we've got a lot of great ones, a lot of them, maybe too many coffee shops. But we do need more breweries. We do need more pizza parlors. We do need, you know, what we don't have is we don't have a banquet room or a place to take teenagers for their birthdays.
Yeah, there's a few that I can think about, but I tell you, like, because I'm that person that will sometimes go to another city because I can't find good Japanese food in downtown Pomona or good Chinese food in downtown. I mean, there's a few little spots, but I would love to see if Antique Row would change into like Restaurant Row.
Well, they're working on it.
Yeah,
they're definitely working on it. But that's where that one vegan restaurant is. I tell you, if you want a good burger, Gorgasons. It doesn't matter if you're vegan or not. If you want a good burger, Gorgasons in downtown Pomona.
Yes, that's right. And he's a former youth commissioner. I've known Mark for many years, the owner of that restaurant, and it makes me feel very proud that we have a homegrown person that started a business.
Recently met him. And again, it's what's great about leaning into these type of things is just like you meet these people, you meet amazing people. And it's so much fun to walk into a restaurant and be like, I know the owner. And you give him a high five, and give him a hug. It's a sense of community. And if you're feeling, listen, the reason I keep pushing this in this podcast is because one of the things happening in the city of Pomona right now is we're all scared. We know somebody who is scared that they're going to be deported right now. We all know somebody.
Yeah.
We know somebody who's scared that their family is going to get torn apart for whatever reason, for what's going on, right? We just are. There's just a lot of fear going on right now. So we're retracting. People are retracting. They're pulling into their house.
Yes.
They're shutting their windows. I think that's the wrong take. I think that if you are scared, you need to get out. If you're feeling alone, you need to get out.
Yeah.
Go to one of these community farms and put your hand in the dirt. Go to the park. Keep your eyes around you in case something's happening, but get out there and learn who your neighbors are and be a part of the solution.
Yes.
Right? Have conversations with people that are constructive.
Yes.
Right? Hey, wouldn't it be nice if we had this? Right? So your thing was bathrooms. I love her. Speaking of compassionate Pomona. Yes, she's calling you.
Right. So I'll be at I got to go volunteer with Jan Chase and Compassionate Pomona at 5 for the fair. So we'll be winding our conversation
Well,
now.
and that's what I was saying is that what I want people to take away from it is like you said with the bathrooms.
Yes.
If that's something that you're like, this is something important to me, then go to your city council member with what your solution is and be heard.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, the bathrooms suck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, be like, listen, I think that if we did XYZ, this would be a better experience.
Yes.
What
Oh, man.
do we need to do to make that happen?
Now you're opening up a whole nother cloud. I'm going to invite you back so we can talk about problems and solutions, because I got to tell you, you're absolutely right. But sometimes when just a regular, normal citizen is willing to, let's say, go clean the restroom or paint it, the bureaucracy will get in the way. That stops. Well, because, one thing about being an adult, it's risk management. Is someone going to get hurt? They don't want people volunteering sometimes. The restroom I was talking about, I offered to paint it and to do some stuff out of my own pocket, my own time. There's some thought to say it's better to ask forgiveness and permission. But often when we ask permission, it has to go through the lawyers first. So unfortunately, sometimes being an adult, you have a good idea and you want to do something, but the bureaucracy can get in the way of things.
Yeah, but you said your piece.
Yes.
And I heard it.
That's right.
And the people watching this heard it. And if you have this conversation with your city council member, they've heard it.
Yes.
And they can choose to ignore it, which they may do.
Right. Well, the solution was,
or
we have Pomona Beautification Day. So some way, somehow the city, Linda Laurie used to help us out with this during her time here as a manager, where we kind of get a blanket okay to do stuff in the city with volunteers all around, whether it be painting basketball courts or restrooms. But there's that one day of year, and it hasn't happened before COVID, but that was another excellent thing that people thought outside of the box.
Well, that's another organization that's out there that needs volunteers. So
Yes.
Pomona Beautiful, every Tuesday, now most of us work Tuesday and during the day, they go around and they pick up trash and beautify some street corner or whatever like that. Like, get all of them and be like, this place needs that. I think that you said it's Ted Green Park.
Yeah.
So getting a coalition together with the people the people that run the Ted Green Little League,
and we know them,
vested interest in making that bathroom better. So work with them and Pomona Beautiful and get as many people in the room as possible and have these conversations. And trust me, I've been in these rooms where I've been like, what is going on here? Yeah. And then have a little bit of patience.
Yeah, a little patience.
That's the thing. Have a little bit of patience, but always come with solutions.
What solutions?
And people want to help people that help them, right? So when not to toot my own horn, but when I walk into a room and I'm like, hey, a lot of people are telling me this is important to them. People listen to me because I'm there being like, okay, so how much money is it going to cost? How do we have to raise it? I'm asking what needs
to be done.
We put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
We can paint a bathroom.
Right.
Like what needs to be done.
Yes.
Not, hey, just fix this.
So, and for all you community members out there, this is why it's so important, because again, not one person can do everything, but every person can do something. When you see people like Mitch and myself, and your philosophy, if you're going to complain, have a solution with it. I put this podcast together because I have a lot to complain about, like many of us out there, but let's focus on the good work we're doing together, because we can inspire each other.
There's a lot of great people out there.
You're helping small businesses and to share a story, right? We're here helping to share the story of people making an impact within lives. And so together we can, but alone it's very difficult, right, Mitch?
It is, and social media has made us less social, right?
Yes.
And so I'm telling you right here now, if you don't like your surroundings, get out and do something.
Get out and do some. Show up.
There's a guy on my street. He just lives on my street. He goes and picks up trash on our street. Like I don't know his name because he's got his headphones in. I always try to introduce myself, and he's not interested. He's just like, he doesn't want to have trash on his street, so he goes and he picks up trash.
Right on.
Cool. When you talk about Pomona Beautiful and you're like, what is this person doing or what is that person doing? The mayor is usually one of the people there picking up trash.
Yeah.
So it's not like he doesn't care.
Right.
There's just so much money and so much time and so many resources and bureaucracy and unions and blah, 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 that wheel sometimes turns slower than we would like.
Right.
And we have 160,000 opinions in this city.
Ooh, man, 160,000.
And then, so have a little bit of grace.
Yes.
And be a part of the solution.
So as we bring this podcast to a close, and again, thanks for hanging out at 3P Studios in downtown Pomona. This is Spotlight Pomona right here.
Thank you so
and
much.
We're hanging with Mitch Stein. What parting shout outs do you have? Besides, show up to his birthday party.
Come to my birthday party.
It's going to be off the chain.
If anyone listened that long, I'm going to be very impressed. I want to hear from you. So we put this magazine together based on conversations that we have, right? So we hear things that are going on in the city and we decide what we want to highlight. So I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
For example, the library is closed right now. The library reached out to us and they were like, hey, we want to let people know that we're still here, even though the actual building is closed. They wrote an article and I put it in here. It's in this one. So they literally were like, we need, and I was like, yes, that is something that people should know.
Yes.
Right. Western University contacted me and said, hey, we have this free eyeglass thing. I'm like, oh, that's right up my alley. I'm going to put it in the magazine.
Yes.
Right. So again, I don't charge for these things, but if there's something that we feel needs to be highlighted in the city, we need you to tell us what it is.
Right. You heard that, guys. So leave comments. You could always go to Mitch's Facebook page, or I don't know if you have Instagram. What
I have
ways
everything. So me personally, if you want to reach out to me personally, I am Coach Mitch Stein, because I have coached every sport, youth sport known to mankind. I am Coach Mitch Stein pretty much on everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Gmail. Coach Mitch Stein. If you want to reach out to the magazine, it's the Pomona Bulletin. And if you Google it, you'll see we're on Instagram, Facebook. We have a website. And then we currently have 30 locations where we hand them out, where they're just at restaurants around. So if you see one, pick one up and talk to us. If you own a business in Pomona, we want to know who you are as well, because we want to highlight you.
Cool.
And again, for free. But we can't do it if you don't raise your hand and tell us who you are. We are a volunteer, 100% funded by me organization. I don't want advertising. I don't want it to be about that.
Right.
So one of the things in the card that I want to shout out to, because they just are giving something really amazing, Pro Auto next to Pomona Catholic. That's Holt.
Okay, yeah.
They're on Holt.
Yeah,
so
across the street.
Pro Auto, if you download the app, you get a free oil change.
Oh, really? All right. I downloaded the app last week, so I got to check that out.
You get a free oil change. Jose, the manager, went to Pomona High. He's been here for 50 years. Like, it's a family-owned business. Like,
shout out Jose.
So support local. Try a restaurant. Try a tire store, a clothing store that you've never gone to.
I think that's the Jose that I went to Ganesha High School with back in the 90s, and his daughter's going to Laverne University right now.
Sounds. That's probably him. Yeah.
Cool,
and so, like, get back in a relationship with Pomona. If you quit Pomona, like I said, Pomona didn't quit you. You quit Pomona. So figure out what it is where you can give back, and I promise you, Pomona will give it back to you tenfold.
Wonderful. Well, hey, Mitch, thank you so much for coming down and hanging out with us.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Let's keep on spreading the good word, and hopefully we can work together as Service Club members to really boost our membership. So that when we're leaving the scene, as we grow older, there's a whole new generation.
Yep. And that is my whole, when I take over Kiwanis on October 1st, my only goal is to build these organizations back. Each one of them needs to have 100 members. So
wow. Okay.
Usually when I put my mind to something, I do it.
I'm going to be working with him on that right there. So we're going to be sharing stories about service clubs and the things they do, I think, as time kind of unfold, because I think it's a great story.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Mitch.
This is amazing. Thank you.
Pomona, you ever see us on the streets, don't forget to wave hello, say hi, and check out the Pomona Bulletin and go to the social media sites.
Say hi, don't honk.
Yeah, don't honk, say hi. All right, Pomona, peace.
Take care. Bye.